Okay, so thank you everyone for joining for my presentation today. So about the purpose. So at the end of this presentation, so I will help you to overview the IELTS listening test and reading test and understand the basic way to teach listening and reading skill. About the table of content, so we will move 5 of this. One is IELTS listening test and the teaching strategy, and next is IELTS reading and the strategy for it. And the last one is some tips you can teach your student. So let's move to the first one is the IELTS listening test. So some basic information about IELTS listening test. So there's some fact here. The test is the same between academic IELTS and general IELTS, and it's comprised of 4 parts, and it requires no specialist knowledge, and it could be predictable in regard of form and topic. So the purpose of the IELTS listening test is to test your ability in listening and to make sure that how can you understand the main idea of the listening and follow the logical argument. Find specific information like number or addresses and recognize the opinion and the attitude of the speaker. Oh, how can I? So about the structure and the timing, in the listening test, the candidate will always have about 30 minutes of listening followed by 10 minutes to transfer their answer to the answer sheet. And there will always be 4 sections of increasingly difficulty, each comprising 10 questions, and they will have roughly the same content. So our list here is the content. So the first one is the first part is the conversation between two people, often over the telephone or in a social or general setting. The next is the monologue, again in a social and general setting. And the third part is another conversation, but this time is academic setting and it usually concerning some sort of shared responsibility like assignment. And there will be 2 or 4 voices involved, and the candidate have to keep track of each person's attitudes and idea. And the final one is a monologue, which is usually a lecture, and this is the most difficult section. The candidate have to identify the attitudes and opinions as well as gathering factual information. So the fact is that no specialist knowledge required in the exam is the same because it is the same between academic and general IELTS test.
Questions? Sure. Can you go back to the slide?
Yeah.
So you say we have 30 minutes of listening and followed by 10 minutes. So that does mean
You
they
have
give,
40 minutes
yeah. So
in total.
that doesn't mean they give me the headphone. I have to listen for 30 minutes non-stop, and then after that, I put away my headphone and then transfer everything I can remember to the paper, or I can just like listen, pause, transfer my answer, and then continue my listening.
I will talk about it later about the tips.
No, he asked you about the procedure.
Procedure.
And you can explain it now.
It means you will.
He asked me if you can pause the recording.
No, you will. It will the recording will play uh, continue continuously, right?
Continuously, yes.
Yes, and after each section, we will have like a couple of minutes for so you can transfer your 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 answer to answer sheet.
So when I am listening, can I write down stuff into papers, or I'm not allowed to write anything?
No, you sure you can still write on your test paper?
Okay. So I can take notes.
Yeah, you can take note. Next, I will move to the question type. Um, there are mainly some question type of listening tests. The first one is the multiple choice. This could involve answering a question or finishing a sentence. As this is an example. So this is they give me the question and we can choose the correct answer from A, B, or C. This is a multiple choice. Next one is the label, a map, diagram, or more. So you will listen to verbal description related to different parts to one another to fill in the gap in this picture. Yeah, this is an example, and you will have to fill this one in here. The next one is the form table and summarize completion. You will be presented with some information that missing some word. You listen and fill in the blank. You see, here's the example. And the final one is the short answer. You will be asked a question and you will need to answer in a few words, and pay attention to this, no more than 3 or a number. Yeah, you should teach your student to focus on this one. So I will move to a teaching strategy for IELTS listening. Um, Here are some teaching strategy. So you could teach your student to predict the material, because students should get used to reading the question and know what to expect from the subsequent listening passages. They should be aware they don't have to understand everything, but instead should prepare to hear a specific idea. The next one you can teach your student is your identify the wrong answer, because sometimes finding the right answer is often difficult. However, you can find the wrong answer much more easier. So teach your student to cross out the incorrect answer, and then they can increase their chance to getting the correct one. So the next one is think in terms of the synonym. You should teach your students should think of synonym for this word, because um, this word, because that is likely what they will hear. The question and the passage will seldom contain the same wording. So maybe the synonym could be the correct answer. And the last one is think in the term of synonym. Oh my gosh. This one is hear everything before you choose. Um, the IELTS listening can be tricky, so often they will give you a false answer. If you wrote your answer too quickly, you might miss the correct answer, which comes a little later. So one more skill you can notify with your student is the time management skill. One of the hardest part of the IELTS exam is doing everything within allotted time. So students should be practicing under exam condition and use various of strategy in order to use their time better. Here, so for one thing that you don't waste your time checking your answer during the gap between one section and the next. Instead, check them at the end when you are transferring your answer to the answer sheet. In those brief 30-second gap, student could be reading the text, the next set of question, and anticipating the material they will hear next. This is a far better use of time. And now one more thing you can teach your student is get a mix of accent and voices. So as we all know that in IELTS listening test, they will use a lot of accent, like I list over here, like British accent, American accent, Canadian, South African, Australian, and you mentioned about Indian too. So, as I remember, the accent is the way they talk. For example, the accent of Southern Vietnamese is different with the accent of Southern Vietnamese. So it will be maybe a little bit hard for them to hear. So you should always try to play your student different voices from your own so that they can get familiar with some of their accent. Here, English and American and Australian people and sound very different, and yet any of those could be expected on the IELTS exam. So you need to use woman voice and the man voice, high and low voice, and so on. Yeah, students need the exam skill, so they need to learn strategy and do the real IELTS exam practice. But you can mix in some fun exercise, like in your lesson, maybe you can show them a couple of video like film. So it's more interesting material. The student may be engaged more in your lesson. So I will move to these IELTS reading tests. Let's take a look about the overview of IELTS reading. The IELTS reading exam lasts for 60 minutes. It's including the time of transfer answer. It will comprise of 40 questions and each will worth 1 point. There are 3 reading passes. The total of this may be around 2,750 words. The reading passes may be from magazine, books, newspaper, website, journal, and more. The text range from descriptive and factual to descriptive and analytical. About the question type, there are a lot of question types, so I will list here about 14 question type of IELTS. So one of the most important part of learning about IELTS reading is gaining an understanding of the different question type involved in the exam. They are important to understand because they will help students to approach the test. One of the problems with IELTS is that they are quite specific skills that students need to master in order to do well. So yeah, let's for example, this one, choose or fall or not given. the student have to scanning the whole passage to find the detail before they can choose the answer. But about the summary completion, they have to skim all the passage to gain the summarize and the main ideas. So these are specific skill they have to mix and in the reading test. So one more important thing is that they have to understanding difficult vocabulary. It's really important to teach a vocabulary skill in IELTS reading, and particular the process of figuring out the difficult word, because as you can see that the reading passage can take from lecture magazine on maybe science magazine. So it will be it will contain a lot of difficult vocabulary. So the important thing is that the student cannot understand all of this vocabulary. So you have to pointing out that you are not meant to understand all the word, and you don't need to try. Uh, so if the word is important and the student cannot understand, you can teach the student how to guess the meaning of the context and guess the meaning of the vocabulary. So about the reading skill, you may need to teach your student about two basic skills. This is a skimming, meaning that the student will need to they will need to read quickly to find the general overview of the passage. The next one is the scanning skill. Is they have to read to find the specific detail within the passage. They will have to find the detailed information. The next one you will have to notice is that to master the readings, IELTS reading, the most important thing is to practice reading section. In practice, reading can result in quiet and often boring lesson, because when you ask your student to read the passage, they will all be quiet, and then the lesson may be boring. So, however, you can spice up and reading lesson by throwing some activities, by combining it with speaking, for example. So before talk about the tips, so you can use the technique on using on teaching your teaching, especially reading and listening skill. Like the one technique I know is the scaffolding, and so which means you come from the top. Here is the for example, here's the reading. So you will come from the top. The main purpose of the lesson is that student can gain the skimming skill. So this is the main purpose of the lesson, is the top. So we will make some more step here, like some activities you will need them to you will see you can contain some speaking and some reading material here, maybe some picture, and all the activity combined, that at the end of the lesson your student will know how is skimming skill, and they can practice in a full passes in IELTS. So this is one of the teaching technique that I know. Okay. Next, let's move to the tips. For the tips in reading, listening, IELTS listening. So here's some tip you can teach with your student. Like in each question type here, there are some tips that they can use as a reference, because not all the question is the same. So just for reference, maybe for example, look at the verb and the article to see whether the answer is singular or plural noun. So this is a fill in the blank. Yeah, because when the question is no more than 2 words, yeah, so you have to tell your students, so focus on the listening, that is a singular or plural noun. So it's 1 or 2 verb. Yeah, just an example. The next one is the tips about reading skill, is how to read quickly. So you can just teach your student to practice reading in a variety of texts. Maybe it means they can practice to open their what should I say, their eyes. Like instead of read one by one word, they can open to read the whole sentence in just one look, so they can read quickly. And don't get stressed by unfamiliar vocabulary. As I mentioned before, you will need to teach them how to guess the meaning of the vocabulary. So don't be stressed. And you can teach them to learn to read the main idea of the whole text and of each paragraph, which is very useful for the question time, is to find the main idea of the paragraph. Next one is to underline the important word and remember where the important idea were expressed. The next tip is then practice locating information, single word or phrases, name or number, and so on. So that is my presentation. Thank you for your listening.
Okay, now tell me 3 things that you have done well.
Did you stop recording?